are on YouTube, and we are discussing the proposed Plan 2040 vision. This is the draft that was drafted with all the comments that were, remember, due yesterday. So before we go on that, I want to talk about a few things. And actually, I'm going to regroup and do that when we have more people here. So let's continue with the vision statement, and then we'll address some other issues. So the suggestion is to take out the fifth. I'm sorry, Kristen.
I just was going to ask about. I had a question about it. Are you ready?
Well, let's start with taking out the fifth sentence, or sorry, fifth from the bottom. Taking out the sentence that starts with R and ends with growth, because the thought is that education is addressed in the beginning under the purpose of development that aligns transportation, education, and services. If Patricia was concerned, which is true, that we shouldn't have a goal, we should say what our project education system's goal is. So. Thoughts? Yes, Bill?
I have a general thought and
Speak up,
a little
please.
bit more of a question as well.
Okay.
So I was definitely in the camp of vision statement being more concise and, being the vision that then is followed by goals and objectives and then by a code and so on and so forth. And it seems as only a couple of days ago there was a version that the county had, I thought, done a great job of making more concise and sent out. And then I think Kate had edited that a little bit more, and I felt like it really did a good job of saying what we needed to capture in just as few words as possible. How did we get from those a couple of days ago, or yesterday even, to what is now starting to grow again?
And we can go back to that.
So I just want to address what's being done. So first of all, let's back up a little another step. This is really your first decision-making process. You've been listening to background reports and being out in the community listening, etc. And what we like to do in planning is a collaborative decision-making process of consensus building. Those of you don't know what that is, it's trying to reach general agreement through collaboration versus voting. So when we sent out that initial statement,
The short version.
the shorter version.
Shorter.
And it wasn't a lot shorter, but it was different. Then people started commenting over the weekend and up through yesterday and even a couple today on that. And we put those comments together, and this is what we get.
Grows again.
So what I want you to think about is not so much particular words, but can you live with this? Is this representing your community's values? Or are there values that are missing that was heard during the visioning meetings?
Right. And I guess I'd argue that could people not live with the latest version, the one that was, I think, pretty concise and condensed and hit all of the points, I felt like. Because I think we all have a tendency to make sure our point gets in there, and if we all throw 5 or 10 words at it, all of a sudden we've got, 150 more words that may say the same thing.
Right. And that's one of the things that we need to, it needs to be a consensus, it's going to be the majority. Can you live with it?
Or
that kind of stuff.
one or
so it's not, I'm sure it'll be a little bit different for everybody, and interpretation is a little bit different, but can we bring that?
Yeah, so what we started hearing was more people saying,
don't forget about this.
well, more like, okay, that's okay, but really it's not capturing the essence, and giving us a little bit more feedback. I mean, if you want
Well, and the other thing is, and this is something that we need to talk about and everything else, is that we need to make sure everybody participates, because we're getting some feedback from the from a few, which is great, but we're not hearing from everybody. So are you in agreement when we don't hear from you? Or are you really want to change? And so that's one of the things that I want to stress, is that you are representing your area, and we need to make sure that this is something that you agree with, that you're willing to live with, and that you're willing to go back to your area and defend and say, this is why we chose this. It may not be exactly, the wording that you chose, but this is the theme and why we chose this area. And so we need to make sure that we're all comfortable with that in the majority, is what I'm saying. And so we can go back to that. And so I think, Mark, will you be able to pull, or do you have the revised one? Okay, he's gonna work on that. Gary?
I agree with Bill 100%. I think you need something short and sweet, something that a politician can read and remember. And nobody, I don't think anybody's going to read this paragraph, really don't. And when you look at it, it's not a vision, it's a wish list. If you look at the words, it's kind of a wish list of what you would like to see. Whereas I thought the vision is what we expect to be here in Anne Arundel County in 20 years. But I think whoever did this very short, 6 sentences, I think did a good job of capturing the gist of what we need to talk about. And I couldn't agree more with what Bill was saying, that he's going to expand in another area of goals or whatever. And it sounds like some of the things in this document you sent out, the short version, might be those goals. But you need something really to the point, not some vague, idealistic words that sound good. You just need something people can get a hand on and understand and walk away and remember.
Okay, they're gonna try and pull that up, or is it short enough that we can retype it quickly?
How about Kate's version?
Yeah, what about Kate's version? Kate, read your version.
It's one sentence.
I thought you did a great job with it. I thought the county did a great job of condensing it. I think you tightened it up even better.
Thank you. I think they're all too long.
Yeah, you might have to look, I can't remember.
I didn't even offer mine, because everybody works on
Okay, they're gonna go back. It's gonna take a minute or two to pull that up, because we've had several additions to that, bunch of it up. So. I'll forward it to you guys. You want me to do it that way?
Look at the one that says 82 and then read that.
And this is all good stuff, but it's how to get it done. There's layers.
Well, there was another, was that this vision statement was done once, from the last version they said.
Hey, there was a 129.
You want to read it out to the group? Because I have what I think was.
Today is 129, Kate?
No, this came earlier.
I like what's been done with the vision, Natasha, a couple minor things, vision to intended to, okay, here we go.
I think, I can't read it.
Okay, hold on 1 second. You have that. Don, did I give that?
No, it's not quite that one.
It's not that.
But just read what you've got, it's the bottom of that.
Okay, in 2040, the quality of life experienced by all residents of Anne Arundel County will be enriched by a livable built environment created in harmony with nature, a diverse economy, equitable distribution of services and infrastructure, healthy and safe communities, and responsive and collaborative county government.
Period.
Yep. I'd like to say something about this. The only thing, I like everything about it, I agree with you there, but there's one thing that we're missing in that vision. We are not talking about technology assisting everybody in the county. Because that's the one thing that, if we're looking at a vision in 20 years from now, then we're also talking about technology assisting and helping our communities throughout the county. So if there's a statement we can make to add to that, and that would be it, I like the rest of what we're talking about.
Why do you feel that's important?
Because of the fact that if somebody's gonna look at this and wonder what kind of things we want to develop in the future, be it roadways, working on that, working on automation in terms of driverless vehicles, in terms of technology that assists on the county level, like what's going on with the library right now, it's more and more expanded services. Technology is going to be playing a part in all of that.
5G expansion or whatever's next.
Whatever is next in
Yeah.
20 years from now. But at least we're making a statement that we're gonna embrace that to enhance the quality of life in this, and that's what we see.
My only concern is that technology moves so fast, to me, it's almost, it's a shot in the dark, 20 years, what you're gonna say.
No, it's not.
Yes.
It's just talking about we're going to embrace technology to make things.
Whatever it
better in the
is.
county. Yes.
I get it.
What choice do you have?
Well, if we leave it out, then we don't have a vision about technology helping us.
That's a big catch.
Because I like the rest of this. I totally agree with what you said. I think it's good to keep it that short.
I'm just looking at the old vision statement and it referred to mobility technology, whereas
Yeah.
what you're talking about is technology in general.
Well, the one
But that could be
you set
mobility
out-
as well.
It could be.
I mean,
Yeah.
less words.
When you
But you
work
don't
on the line
limit it.
in the one that we have, that we were going to look at now, multimodal pathways integrating advanced economic, generational, environmental needs, mobility, technology. I think it should say mobility and other technologies will link people to key destinations and enhance the vibrancy of communities, so forth and so on. I'm just saying that we should have a vision about how things are going to be then, in terms of, that's why I bring it up.
Hey, can you see that?
Could we divide it into two sentences and add, for the second sentence, say something like, will be enriched by a livable built environment created in harmony with nature and a diverse economy, equitable distributions of services and infrastructure, period.
Yeah.
We will support
Can you go down?
technological
All the
advances,
way
healthy
down.
and safe communities, and responsive and collaborative county government.
Say that again. So now that it's under interest, could you read that so we can look at that in context?
So in other words, you would end the first sentence after infrastructure, period.
Right.
And then you would say, the county will embrace technological advances and healthy and safe communities and a responsive collaborative county government. Something like that.
Right. I agree with you.
Or the county will embrace technological advances to ensure a healthy and safe.
Done.
Period, yeah, period right there.
I like
After infrastructure, period, keep it,
And keep it.
keep it just period. So go back, undo, undo. Okay, and then just period after infrastructure, keep the rest of the sentence. And then add,
What'd you say, Kate?
the county will
One more time?
Embrace technological advances to ensure.
Right.
Right.
That works.
I like it.
will embrace, the county will embrace.
Should be some information. I vote yes.
I like them too. I still have a problem with equitable distribution of services and infrastructure. Being equitable doesn't make them good or bad, it just makes them equally distributed. And, you know, how is that envisioned?
Well, I think what I would interpret that would be that there would be equitable distribution of services throughout the county, so that North County would have the same services as South County, to the best of their ability.
Right.
As
Whether
required.
they're good or not.
Well, based upon the population of North County, I would think it'd be the reverse.
Well, I understand that, but equitable,
Yeah, okay.
so.
You could put in as required, because you don't need the same services all throughout the county.
I like having a short time.
We have enough attention to diversity and welcoming diversity.
It says diverse economy, sorry. Health and safe community. Alan,
I just have a comment. The minute you have a sentence that adds a third and a fourth, and pretty soon you're back to where you were before. This should be one sentence, and it should be no more than 2 or 3 lines. So drive it to be short, succinct, clear, and done. Don't add to it, because it becomes more of an elevator speech than it is.
It's 4 lines.
Yeah.
It's only 4 lines.
so Anthony. Okay, guys, listen, please be respectful.
I think one thing that's really missing from that is what in there is unique about Anne Arundel County, as opposed to that, I can plug that into any counties, anywhere in the United States, but there's nothing that's unique about Anne Arundel County in there.
So I would look at it a different way,
Right?
that what makes it unique
Mhm.
is the themes and how we implement
So,
it. Because most people want this for their future.
I don't disagree with that, but this statement has nothing unique about Anne Arundel County. What we do later in Vision, we call that out. There's nothing in there that is specifically unique about this county that is based on, a lot of this county is, what it goes on in this county is based on a few items, which is
Okay,
the
so if,
environmental, the water, blah. There's nothing in there that really says,
well, if you could add one word without adding another sentence, what would you suggest to make us unique?
it would have to be something based on the Chesapeake.
Okay.
Say a livable
So-
built environment along the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah. So, something in that vein, right?
Would be enriched.
Creating nature,
We are.
creating harmony with nature and the bay or something.
Because that's, a lot of our push is to make sure that the diversity is coming from the blend of the cultural, environmental, as well as developmental pieces that we're trying to do. And no,
I see what you're saying. So if we added, and I like that, Bill, when you said with nature and the Chesapeake Bay,
I wouldn't use the bay.
and the Chesapeake,
Or the watershed.
or,
The
well, I would,
watershed encompasses the land. The bay only is the water.
That's only on the east side, but I look at the west side.
why wouldn't that cover the west side?
Yeah, why doesn't environment and nature already maybe cover it? I get what you're saying, it's not specific.
it's not, but I mean,
And is it what?
I mean, is it just like saying something in Chesapeake Bay?
individuals look at that? Is this focused
So when you
on
say watersheds, then
watersheds,
it would be more
maybe not
inclusive.
going out of?
Which one? That's what
So
she-
the whole county is part of the same watershed.
Well, it's true. A lot of people don't know that,
So,
you know.
would you want to say with a livable built environment created in harmony with watersheds, nature? Okay, yes, no?
Yeah, I think that's more in the direction of
Okay, with watersheds, comma, nature, diverse watershed.
Watershed is nature. With something like with our local watersheds,
You can do that with our local watershed. Okay, that's, anybody else? Billy?
I have two things. One is just a clarification of what is a livable built environment? What is that?
It's all open to interpretation. What your livable built environment is different from mine.
And because it's vague and unclear, it becomes arguable to whoever may be competing with the vision of our county. So that's number one. Number two, it doesn't matter to me whether it's short or long. However, as we drive to make it shorter and shorter, you know, we should recognize right now that according to this statement, we have no vision for our schools. We have no vision for our traffic problems. We have no vision for any of our adequacy of facilities because you deleted it all. The vision statement that the county provided for today's meeting seems to include that. And if our objective is, oh, well, there's 5 sentences, so let's cut 2. And then we're cutting all of this. I can tell you right now, if you want to make this clear to the people on the street, well, do you not have a vision for the schools, which there are some that are deficient. There are schools that, you know, I just think that when you start deleting traffic, schools, developmental growth into historic communities, that's what the citizens that's what they want a vision for. And so I would counsel that just because you have a 1 or 2 sentence vision, you're sacrificing all the visions of everything that's meaningful to the citizens of this county.
I would say, okay, go ahead. Sorry,
And that's
Beth.
just a view, I'm a colleague.
No, that's
Yeah.
why we're here. And we appreciate you speaking up, and we want everybody to participate and speak up. So,
I
John.
kind of think, like, to me, the statement we're looking at right now, this part, is a teaser for what we described in the vision statement itself. Okay, so that we don't need to be as clear there as it is in here about everything that you just brought up. So I think that should be an investment in time and the 2 pages that we want to look at here.
What 2 pages are you referring to?
It says proposed vision statement, vision themes.
The themes.
Vision themes are meant to clarify the
Right.
vision statement.
All right.
A little more,
Take it to the next level.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, explain.
Patricia.
Could we go back to the one that you sent out today, or when you sent it out, and it says, in 2040, Anne Arundel County's identity will reflect the natural, cultural, and economic strength and diversity inherent in our high quality of life, a fundamental underpinning of our growth strategy, commitment to environmental stewardship, which I think is such a great sentence, will result in purposeful development that aligns transportation, education, and service sectors with population and housing patterns. The authentic character of our communities and our agricultural and Chesapeake Bay heritage, which I think is what this man was talking about, will be preserved while new communities are created that meet technological, economic, and generational and environmental needs, period. And just end it there. The sentence about multimodal pathways is not really needed. And the other sentences aren't really needed, they aren't part of the vision statement.
I would agree with you if we left in the last paragraph, the last sentence in that.
Yes,
That
that
would be a very good idea.
Yes, but that's only like 4 or 5 sentences at best.
Okay, so the second proposal is if you go back and you leave it at, to end it at needs,
Right.
and then continue, and then cross that out and go to the last sentence and keep the last sentence finally.
You don't need to put finally, just put the county
The
will
county.
model.
Okay,
I like that.
the county
poetic.
will, and finally a little, the county will be a
for
model.
collaborative and transparent governance with
Jerry.
strong government.
Can we get
Yeah,
that?
you know, I still say keep it simple, because you're gonna have to defend this document in court at some point. And in order to do that, which I've had to do last year, a year and a half, over a year and a half in court, you know, the statements would be made, the committee could not possibly have anticipated electric vehicles. They could not have possibly have anticipated it was a mistake, where the county council member made a mistake. And that's not what they really meant. They didn't know that. So you're going to have to take in this document and pin, if you want to talk about education, you got to be real specific about what it is. And it's got to be visible to the attorneys and to the Board of Appeals and the hearing officer that that was no mistake, that those people definitely wanted to have excellence in education in Anne Arundel County, or they wanted to have open space.
But don't you think that that goes down into themes?
It could go down later, but you don't need to put it in the first thing that people read. Because you're gonna have to develop those ideas and be very
And go
specific.
down, right, go more so.
I mean, I've been through it in court with these guys, and they will tear it apart and accuse this committee of having no idea what they were talking about in 10, 20 years.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you, Gary. Billy, comments based on the second versus the first?
Oh, I just like to have a vision for schools and traffic
And do you
development.
see that in the second?
Well, I
This
saw the
revised
original
one?
one.
That's what she's saying.
Line of transportation
Up to there.
Oh.
Patricia, Pat, sorry. While he's studying that?
This was overwhelming to me because I've written vision statements for the IBM Corporation for
Okay.
28 years.
So which,
So when I could, let me just finish, I did not attempt to edit it because there was too much material and you all seem to want to put more words in this. I'm not offering this out to you for consideration, but I wrote this and this is what makes sense to me, but I like all the words in here. So this is not, I'm not throwing this out, but it was very simple. I just said improve, sustain, and secure our quality of life by the planning and enforcement of managed growth, adequate public facilities, it includes education, technology
That
advances,
one's fun.
and economic preservation through a strong partnership with government in all cases of land use, because land use is our focus. So you've got topics within, like adequate public facilities, like public safety, education, schools, etc. And as Alan said, one strong statement that includes topics that then can be elaborated in another document. So the shorter it is, the better. But we can't get into education. I mean, that is a subject unto itself, other than to include it as like adequate public facilities.
in the umbrella underneath it. So.
I second that thought and suggestion, Sean. I was just sitting here writing something and trying to shorten it down and get rid of all that stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's too wordy.
We are about what we want to be, what is the vision of our future in this county here, and it has to do with building and zoning. So
Then,
we should focus to those things.
the other thing, and I wasn't successful in doing it, I was trying to think, what would I write today about today versus what I want 20 years from now? And other than advances, it's really the same. We're all driving for the same success.
Why is she not, why are you not offering that?
What I wrote?
Yeah.
Because it's not wordy enough.
Well, it might be wordy
I
enough,
see
so
something
why,
That was good.
can you pass it over to Don, and this will be number 3, and then we're gonna look at it, we're gonna study it. Can you cut out the middle, Don, where you accept those changes to delete that, please? Yep. And finally,
Take out the word fund.
And the word finally.
and the word finally, and then we'll put Pat's up, and then it has to be a consensus. Y'all gonna have to live with it. Okay? Don's typing it, it's not
Oh,
Mark.
John, that's right.
I thought. So can you take that over to him and he can put that up, and then you will be able to study, and whoever's here, it's gotta be consensus, and we have to move on. Okay?
It's horribly written. Visions usually need goals and objectives and so forth and so on. So it's all part of the strategic process. So the cleaner and more succinct your vision is, the more aided you are in doing all of the rest. Worry, you get confused. I'm sorry?
What we need to look at is each of those themes that you talked about would be reflected with, as the topics of our other.
Right. They would be goals. So you'd have a goal for this, a goal for that, a goal for this. You'd have.
Okay, so while we're doing this, then start in on your themes and your goals and your objectives, and let's look at those next. Gary,
You know what, the one thing that I saw missing.
missing from what? The vision or the themes?
So, based on the gentleman's comment that what makes us unique, and what I see as unique is Mr. Pittman's vision to engage in a new way, in a more collaborative way, the citizens, us, the fact that we're here at his request. I hear at the last Thursday at the town hall meeting, there was more than one person that said, keep the citizens involved. And I think that would make us different than maybe a lot of other areas, that the close connection between community, individual citizens, and an agile development process.
Well, and
would
that's,
make
I
us
think, why we
unique.
kept that last sentence there. Collaborative and transparent governance with strong ongoing
I would make that really
partnerships.
strong, because I think that's the only way we're gonna succeed.
Well, I'm gonna just say that if you're worried about trying to defend something in court, I think that statement alone that you're bringing up would be a very difficult one to defend in court. I think that.
Well, it's
yeah.
a reality. I mean, that's
Well, I
what
don't
you
think
get.
it's a reality. I totally disagree. So there you go.
Well, it depends on what
I mean, we've
case
had
you're
county
involved
executives
in.
in the past who
Case
have.
Jessup was involved in
Okay,
was
so
reality.
let's focus on this, and they're gonna get these 3 things going, and then we'll take a minute, and then we need to have a consensus, please.
It's impossible to read it from.
Oh, yeah, no,
move over
please,
here?
and if you wanna switch seats, this looks like the group. So if you wanna switch seats, you're more than welcome to, we can move people around. Just bring your piles, because I'm gonna switch and put piles over there. Because we keep track of who's going where. Anthony.
So I really like the third.
Can you make that like 72 points?
A little larger, please. Keep going.
Two things. There's an end between planning and enforcement, should be and,
Which,
on the third statement. First line.
Top line.
planning and, not in.
Come move on the side, you'll see what. Kate, do you wanna move?
I'm looking, so I like the one statement about environmental preservation. I want us to be, I don't want us to preserve, I want us to be more aggressive. I need a better word than preserve, because I think we need to be a little bit more proactive on the environmental. 'Environmental. 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 'Environmental.
Which one are you looking at?
Where it
The
said-
third,
yeah.
environmental preservation?
And instead of environmental preservation, preservation says
Okay,
that I intend to do
environmental
environmental
Stewardship, that was, I thought,
Yeah.
very good.
Okay, environmental stewardship.
I want to be more proactive, not reactive.
Right,
Yeah.
If that
okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I love it.
Stewardship.
Stewardship, I like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
one,
don't
just
think-
one line down from the top, please, Don, so we can see, there you go. Oh, no, too much, go one back. Okay, so how about a half line? No,
Delete the first one, then we got.
delete proposed there, delete that, please. And then see if we can fit them all. There we go, okay, all three of them there, so take a minute to look at it. Please, read them, study them, and form an opinion based on the areas that you represent. Remember, this isn't your personal, you are representing the citizens.
And we were about to make this.
Back.
You just leave it there.
Okay, perfect, yep.
So stewardship.
Pat, I have a question on the one that just with a D.
It says through a strong partnership with government, but who's the other part of the partnership?
Citizens,
Public. Well,
citizens and government.
we
Strong
are,
partnership between citizens, public, and government. Input.
you can add,
Stakeholders.
stakeholders, yeah, you can add stakeholders. Great government.
Residents,
I like residents better than, I have a problem with citizens in
okay,
this environment.
okay. Residents.
I mean, here's another idea.
Oh, person, okay, wait, are we changing puppies to dogs, or what are we doing?
No, we're not. But,
Cats.
so she's elaborated 5 themes: planning and enforcement of managed growth, adequate public facilities, technological advances. But and then you have these themes, which are all different. So what if we just took the topics of these things? Investing in new and improved infrastructure, encouraging strategic growth and redevelopment, sustaining community character, facilitating a connected and responsive government, and creating resilient, environmental, sound, and sustainable communities.
We've lost the strength of the.
Those may be goals or objectives.
Those are the titles of the themes.
They would be supported by the brief statement. So the idea is the brief statement can be supported by these things.
I understand that, but I'm saying if we use the exact same language, then you know exactly what ties to what.
And what would
And
it
what
say?
elaborates what.
So, investing in new and improved infrastructure, encouraging strategic growth and redevelopment, yeah.
I mean, we could start with improve and sustain our quality of
Okay.
life through creating resilient, environmental, sound, and sustainable communities, and then go on to put in whatever order you want it. Or we could change the names of the things.
That would probably be.
Let's tweak the themes and concentrate on this. Is that okay with everybody? I see heads nodding, nobody falling under,
Yeah, I think tweaking the name of the
tweaking the
tweaking the
themes.
titles of the themes.
Themes, okay,
Yeah.
okay, so going back to this,
Align one.
you have the first one, and then the second one, and the only thing I would suggest is that the third one start within 2020, in 2040, sorry, thank you. Improve, yeah.
So part of the difficulty you're going to have, I think, is that the first three words, as it's currently written, are verbs.
We have to,
They're
yeah,
actions that you're going to do to get to the vision.
we will.
So, but what you want is the end result, is the vision, not the activity to get there. So if you're going to try to put in 2040, you will have already done those things to get to that outcome.
Say Anne Arundel County will have improved, sustained, and secured our quality of life.
Right. Or you can say in 2040, the quality of life in Anne Arundel County will.
I think the county will have, right? That,
Or can you just say 5 instead of N?
5.
2040. Okay, we can tweak that, because you're right, it has to be
It shows
consistent.
growth.
It has to be grammatically correct. So, any comments about 1?
Investing?
Are we scratching?
Vision 1, or are we talking about?
Vision 1,
I just want to make sure I know what we're talking about.
okay, we need to have a consensus here. Vision 1. I don't hear anybody falling on their sword over,
Approved.
okay? Anybody else? Consensus?
You're asking,
Vision
do we
2.
or what are you asking for this? Is what you're doing, right?
We're essentially
Yeah.
voting.
Yes, okay, so.
Vision
In
2.
favor of vision 1, we have 1.
Right. Vision 2? Anybody else? Okay. Vision 3. You have to vote for something.
We're
Yeah.
voting.
Okay.
You were
Okay, what
answering
what aren't you there?
I'm still processing. You were what this is.
I didn't know you were
asking for a vote. I thought you were asking for comments on the.
Well, I am, but I'm asking for everybody to say, okay, we need to tweak this or do this. Okay, going back to Vision 1. Is there any tweaking? Anybody? Billy is thinking Vision 1 is what he would like. Okay. Okay?
Can I ask a
Okay.
question?
Yes, okay.
Can I ask a question before we go to 2
Uh-huh.
and 3? We had a couple of ideas floating around about whether we were going to change this language to reflect the themes or whether we were going to modify the themes. And that's an important resolution for me to figure out which of those two I.
We're going to modify themes to match the vision.
So the themes that are up there are planning and enforcement of managed growth, adequate public facilities, technological advances, and environmental stewardship, is that right? Well, but they're suggesting those are going to be reflected what's there, and those don't feel connected to it.
Yeah, that's kind of my issue with it too, and that community and the development of community and economics kind of disappeared. The balance of all of that.
I agree.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything that's said, I just feel like those are some missing connections there.
Okay, keep speaking up. We need input, we need thoughts.
Are we still on number 1?
We're on all of them.
I have one on number 2. I don't like that sentence that says the county will be enriched by a livable built, I don't know what a built environment is, and someone else made that comment, created in harmony with our local watersheds, which is, again, repetitive because and then next we add nature, to that. That could be stated in one simple sentence where environment covers everything. It's just too wordy and repetitive.
You could just take out livable built and just make it, say, enriched by an environment created in harmony.
So the built environment is the
It's
physical
Part
infrastructure
of it.
that we're dealing with, right? So that's the buildings and the roads and the
But
bridges
you
and.
it's mentioned further down in the sentence at the end of it.
Ellen?
I'm sorry I missed the early conversation. The vision statement, no matter how many sentences it is supposed to also link to the themes. Then it would be good to identify where the themes are linked in every single one of them, because they're not in any.
But when we get
They are
the vision,
linked
we
more
can go
direct-
backward.
They are linked more directly to M1. But if you look at these themes, point out where they are linked and in 1, 2, and 3.
We can change the themes once we get the vision.
Well, why? If these themes make sense,
We haven't gotten into that discussion yet.
Well,
We don't know how many people agree.
you know, they're going back to what Kate said, that it's not linking the themes to the, if these are the themes that we think are important to pursue in the whole development plan as we go forward, that gives guidance to the small area plans for developing their plans, and gives guidance to us. These are the themes that make sense, and the vision statement has to relate to the theme. So maybe we'll have to move it backwards.
Say again.
So, hold on, we're at sidebar.
These themes did relate to a vision statement, but that's now been adjusted.
It related to what you proposed, very clearly, the themes related. So I don't know why we went ahead.
Okay,
Because I did
so-
that early conversation, but we won't.
No, that's okay. Okay, so, putting this on hold and reading the themes as they are right now.
So, point of clarification about these.
Uh-huh.
And I guess I would look to Cindy and staff. These feel to me like an accurate synthesis of the key themes that emerged from the town halls and from all of the data that you gave us to think about. And I'm assuming that's how these were created, whether we agree on the language or not. There was a huge piece about infrastructure. There was a huge piece about strategic growth and redevelopment. There was a whole thing about the communities needed to feel like they were, that we didn't change the nature of them. That the government was connected and responsive to the point that was made over here earlier about a unique characteristic, and that we needed to be resilient and environmentally sound.
Yes, these all come from the vision and needs.
So it feels to me like the discussion that we might think about is if these are the right topics, they might not be the right words, but they're the right concepts. So where is it that we need to focus our energy? Not in revisiting the concepts so much as how we describe them, right?
How we reflect these in that.
And this may be a piece, but I would put these in a different order to match something like that. I mean, I think creating resilient, environmentally sound and sustainable communities is a key concept, as well as sustaining community character. Then we can go on to encouraging strategic growth, new infrastructure, and then end up with community responsive government
You
responsive.
would do it a different way, okay? Ladies, Billy, William?
Are these in an order of precedence? or
No,
are they just-
no order whatsoever. Any thoughts to that?
Just to repeat what someone said earlier, there's nothing in these topics are economic advances. You might want to add economic advances, whatever word you want to say, to be sure that we're focusing on the economy.
William? The other Will? Raise your hand up.
Just as a millennial, I'm thinking because this vision, once we reach 2040, I'll be in my 40s, which is a weird thought for me to think of.
Hey, easy now.
We've all passed it.
I was there 40 years ago.
Go ahead, speak up for the.
And the only, I'm trying to think of, if I dig for this document, in 2040, how would the words resonate to me and the different residents within the wide spectrum of our communities in Anne Arundel County? And in my opinion, I feel like there will be a disconnect with some of the wording to what really resonates to millennials, in a sense. Not saying that this should be millennial driven, but we should take into account that if we want the legacy of this plan to reach 2040, it has to reflect that also. That's all I have.
No,
Tweet
we
it out.
appreciate that, thank you. So,
You offer a specific.
We could tweet it.
No, I'm not for I would say, for example, encouraging strategic growth and redevelopment. I see that as more of like more of the economy of the county. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it talks about commercial areas, and it's just, I feel like it has to be more straightforward.
so could you put encouraging strategic growth, redevelopment, and economic stability?
I would say you can say that, or I was thinking or even taking out encouraging and just say strategic economic growth and redevelopment, and straight into the point. We want it, and of course our
I like that.
and the content could be more supportive of that, because I mean we can support through different incentives. Yeah, but encouraging, to me, it sounds I hate to use it, but a little bit weak.
So strategic growth, what was the?
Strategic economic growth.
And redevelopment.
And redevelopment, which I thought was excellent.
We're talking there about land use. It's not talking about economic.
I would say that
Keep running.
closely linked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I interpreted from it. And also, I would also think about what the future will hold. Although we don't have a crystal ball, and you know, I may be like the Jetsons in 2040, I may not. But also talking about different type of economic drivers that will actually impact this region, such as STEM jobs. How will that impact the quality of life here? We need to get it's a hard balance because you don't want to be too specific, but also you want to have a direction of where the economy is going and the trends that we're seeing across the country as well. Sorry if I threw a wrench.
No, you're good, hold on one second. So, following what you were saying, is to either look at the adjectives without looking at the sentences per se, to say what you're looking at, the same with the verbs. Instead of, and take out the encouraging, the investing, the sustaining, facilitating.
Yeah.
Take out those.
It sounds
Kate's
more
nodding her
decisive.
head. Everybody? Yes?
I'm good with that. It doesn't have to be in the sections.
It doesn't. So,
That's partly where I think the group is struggling. We're trying to put sentences around the verbs and adjectives.
Are we still, with a lot of our language, are we still being reactive as opposed to proactive?
I think one of the things you have to consider inserting is that phrase, that verb or adjective. If you want to be proactive in protecting the environment, you want to be proactive in facilitating redevelopment. Proactive fits in almost every category. You want to avoid reacting other than when we use words like preserve, which is I want to preserve what I have. Conserve is good things to have.
Elizabeth, I have a quick question. This may be more for staff. I was thinking, and I believe this was part of the discussion at one of our first meetings. Do we have any data or any type of information out there that's more predictive in the sense of this is what 2020 may look like, this is what 2030 may look like?
yes, we haven't gotten it yet.
Okay, because
It is
that's
coming.
going to be
Yeah.
very important, because my concern is if we're trying to create a visionary statement, but we don't have a sense of what the future may look like, how can we really say that these should be our top priorities over the other? Because we may be on key now what we see in our communities, but the data we can possibly receive might change that, and we can make better informed decisions.
Such as what type of data
I
are
would,
you thinking?
I would say more comprehensive economic outlook. I know there's more data with the transportation because of Lou Van Arundel. I would say the full comprehensive look of what the county will look like, school enrollment projections, the whole 9 yards, because if this is supposed to be a general plan, we need to have general information.
So we'll have housing and population
Exactly.
and jobs
Okay.
projections, but we're not gonna have school enrollment or anything like that.
Is there any way we can correlate that? Because because if education is an important part to the community and it's expected for public land use or what have you, how can we encompass that in thinking long term?
The education presentation has some of that data in it?
Yeah, a lot of the background reports gave you some data. But again, it's based on the existing land use plan.
Yeah.
So the land use plan will help drive some degree, what's gonna happen here. You remember the presentation we talked about, the kickoff about pre-1978, there was 86% of the county was supposed to be developed by a certain, they were predicting 700,000 people by, was it 2020? Yeah. Well, that's not, but then they made a decision to contain that growth within a certain, well, half the county instead of 80% of the county. So that's kind of the things we need to start thinking about. And your vision, based on what's been heard in the visioning meetings, trying to accomplish that through the land.
Okay, so circle back around to this, because this is where we go. So if we take out investing, encouraging, sustaining, facilitating, creating, take out the verbs and say, you know, we'll come up with some sentences, new and improved infrastructure, strategic growth, planned development and redevelopment, planned growth and redevelopment, community character, connected and responsive government, resilient environmental soundness, sustainable communities as our themes, and incorporate that back into our vision. Am I getting nods? Sort of tap.
You can just kick off these topics by removing those words by saying sound decisions for advances in new and improved infrastructure, strategic growth, community, etc. So that little preamble applies to everything. It kind of links you into action items.
Okay, so, correct. So does this cover what you want to see in the vision statement? That's the big question.
I don't want to see this.
You don't want to see those
No.
themes?
No. I mean,
Can you go back to the 3 vision statements, please? Thanks, Don.
I digress a little bit, but what I'd like to do is to read a really good vision statement. To become the world's most loved, most flown, most profitable airline, Southwest Airlines. That's a vision statement. All right, so transport that to Anne Arundel County. To be the best county in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area everybody wants to live in, or something like that. You know, that's a vision. This is all this other stuff. It's not vision.
Anthony.
This is not leadership to an end state. This is sort of language around the path that we're following.
Now, depending on the industry, there are different approaches.
True.
That works for Southwest.
I agree. I'm not saying that Southwest is the right approach here, but
Succinct.
But I am saying that it needs to be succinct.
Any more than Disney's, which was to make people happy. We could steal that one too.
How about that?
There you go.
I just want to go back to the,
Let's start with this.
to the themes real fast. I think this, at the very top, in hopes of all citizens, let's see, when achieved, it will serve the interests, citizens and communities supported by the government. Because I think it's important to make, I think it's important to, and that might not be the best, I want to show that partnership between the communities and the government who's supporting that with their work.
Where are you?
The very top, the second sentence. Some more, where it says these will serve the interests and all hopes of all citizens in all communities. And I want to just add something to the effect of supported by the government, or because that's we the citizens are relying on the services to be provided by the government, but at the same time, the government needs our input in order for that to be a partnership.
So Anne Arundel County government?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, just clarify, supported by the Anne Arundel County government.
If that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, tell me.
Well, I like the idea that Pat put forward, which said, the following overarching themes collectively support a vision for the entire county achieved through sound decisions for advances in, and then infrastructure, agree with all these characteristics, these themes.
Oh,
It says
sorry,
about
Ellen.
citizens down here in the, responsive government.
Oh, is that later on yet? Where was that?
It says facilitating a connected and responsive government.
Oh, you know what? I would probably.
I want to go back to sometimes talk about education, because it's not
It is not included here, and yet we know that the county plan, the county recommendation from the Board of Education has a lot of data in it with respect to increasing 86 new schools over time, where they will be, and a program that is based on what is projected to be a big change in job patterns. That does affect some of our thinking about land use. And it's good, I guess, to get a summary, not the whole great big report by the Board of Education, but a summary of the data that are key points in the data that point to the growth of 86 new schools over the next 20 years.
That's covered under adequate public facilities. That's
You think
the
it is?
main thrust.
Yes.
Yeah, we can't get into the little stuff. Okay, so let me read you this one.
We're in public.
And can we copy?
I know.
The vision. This is from Loudoun County, Virginia. By honoring its rich heritage, as well as embracing the robust opportunities of a new day, Loudoun County maintains the high quality of life it has achieved, shapes a future that represents the best of both worlds, and creates a place where the residents are proud to live, work, learn, and play.
So
What
does
is that?
fit?
That's Virginia.
That's okay.
That's a pretty good state,
That's
pretty
a
good
good
Virginia.
statement. Thank you, Loudoun County. We can change a word or two, so it's not.
That's what I'm saying. I'm all about that.
And then we can use it.
But that's where it's wide, it's big, it's not going into specifics. It is
I vote to adopt it.
futuristic.
Did you, the packet that we gave you that had examples of all the different vision statements, you know, there was Denver, I mean, there's,
Good ones in there.
yeah, there's, I would point towards the shorter ones, not the 2 pages.
Also, didn't the governor just come out today with his vision statement for the state? I read that from somebody said. It wasn't bad.
That was Plan Maryland, that was the new.
Cindy, is it it's in this?
It was handed out the first night we were doing, yeah.
Okay. I think I missed it.
Well, you know, actually, even some of like Severn and Nodington had, they're not countywide, but they had Burnham Park.
Well, what's wrong with the one loud? We can,
There is an old planning approach called the CASE approach.
I thought it was gonna be Kate
No,
approach.
CASE. And that stands for copy and steal everything.
Yeah. I like that. So,
Would you reread that, please? If we could, just at the lobby.
But substitute our
Yeah.
by honoring its rich heritage, as well as embracing the robust opportunities of a new day, Anne Arundel County maintains the high quality of life it has achieved, shapes a future that represents the best of both worlds, and creates a place where its residents are proud to live, work, learn, and play.
Yay.
I think that's excellent. I move to accept that.
I second.
so we can move on with.
Both the heritage and
After all of this,
Okay, we need, exactly, we're just talking on the side here, we need to add environmental, something in there about environment and Chesapeake's or watershed.
Or,
So,
or thinking about the other strong things that you heard from the vision meetings. I mean, making sure that those are included in those words.
How fast can you type?
I would my observation would be that if we can get this theme locked down,
Constitute
I don't
screen.
mean these words, I meant the concept, the big,
because we don't have to say everything in the vision statement. We have to create a
No,
sense
you're painting the
of what we
picture.
are trying to get to, right?
right.
Paint the picture.
one thing we could do is,
Don't make
as
it.
supported by our discrete themes or something like that, at the end of the vision statement. and just punt it all into the next category. But keep the vision crisp and clean.
Okay, he's gonna type this up. Are we okay with these themes if we take out the verbs? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. That was easy. Thank you.
And can I just make one more case for the fact that one of the things I liked about that vision statement said residents. I just looked up, 5% of the residents in this county are not citizens. That's a significant part of our population. We want to
So we wanted residents versus citizens.
Correct.
Right. Okay, I agree with that. So, okay, he's gonna type this up. We're gonna, what do we do? You have to tweak the watershed environment.
I don't know.
You have to
No, you don't want to do that. You leave it very, very general. Remember, the vision statement, I kind of picture you're in a plane at 30,000 feet looking at the earth. That's how general it is, because I think you're experiencing difficulty of trying to get specific, trying to take into account each and every interest that's important to us, and then it becomes a manifesto and you're walking into your themes.
Yes.
So the more general it is, and it's the part where, when you think about that, it resonates with everyone, but there is a tendency to want to get more detailed.
There is one word we could put in there, which would say by, what's the second word?
By honoring.
By honoring its rich Chesapeake heritage.
Perfect.
I think that's a very good.
I think we need to have
That's perfect. Let's just take care of it. I agree, that's a good.
And I promise, that
Sorry,
vision
Elizabeth.
statement, a version of that very similar has been used in other cases before, so you're not unique if you're borrowing it.
Okay, are we ready? Patricia. Hold on, Patricia. Okay, let's listen.
I do have a bit of a problem after hearing all the things that we've heard, going with the statement that says, Anne Arundel County maintains the high quality of life it has achieved. We heard a lot of things at our vision meetings that didn't talk about high quality of life. We heard a lot of things that talked about what we were doing to our environment, what we were doing to traffic, what our schools were overcrowded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I quite frankly, in 20 years, would like a little better.
We're not, I thought we changed that.
Oh, we changed that, we took that out, I'm so sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
No.
The new one has the word maintain.
I was reading the word from Jessica from
And
the
I was
last
gonna
one.
comment on that as well.
Yeah, come
Are we
on.
working on the vision statement or these other things?
Oh, I
So
said
that thing right there on the bottom, that is our current vision statement. Pat,
I can't believe we're following that.
we're not. We added Chesapeake.
They gave us permission,
I can't believe this group is plagiarizing on something.
Well, we're not. Now we're gonna change it. Okay. Amy, did you have a comment? Kate, Joel, Helen, Charlie, you're awfully quiet over there.
Listen, okay, I just want to clarification, best of both worlds. What does that mean?
Future, past and future.
Okay.
Heritage and future.
Okay, so you can say, then say past and future.
And you want to include environment in here?
No, we fixed that. The best of the past and the future, instead of both worlds.
The Chesapeake Heritage brings it in.
I just didn't know what it was referring to, honestly.
So one of the magical things about a vision statement like this, it can mean different things to different people. That's okay. It is more inclusive that way.
Well, if we do the best of the past and the future.
Okay, take that out, sorry, that's of both worlds,
All right.
because it doesn't work. Thank you.
Now, what about that? Improves the high quality.
That's my only comment, is I think maintains is
Okay,
probably not
instead
the
of
right word.
maintains, what do we want? Improve,
Enhance.
enhance, enhances,
Enhances is a very good word.
enhances,
Achieve. By maintaining the high quality of life.
enhances the quality of life.
Achieves would be a good word too.
You might want to say enhance the quality of life.
Right.
That also
You get rid of
is
high.
more general.
Yeah.
Enhance the quality of life.
but you have to get rid of the has achieved.
Right.
Just get rid of it has achieved.
At the end,
At the-
last, right by there.
It has achieved is deleted.
Now we really changed it. So
It is deleted too.
high quality of life. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
3 sentences.
Somebody read it out loud.
Okay, by honoring its rich Chesapeake heritage, as well as embracing the robust opportunities of a new day, Anne Arundel County enhances the high
Will.
quality of life.
Will enhance.
And its quality of life.
Yeah, take out high, put its quality of life. That covers some of the issues you had in the vision, town hall meetings.
Okay.
Yes.
Enhances
Our
its quality of
Its
life.
quality of life.
Shapes a future that represents the best of both worlds and creates a place where its residents are proud to live, work, learn, and play.
Bingo.
Bill?
Yes.
One thing we can add to.
Oh.
No, you'll
Now,
approve
I feel
this.
like you're gonna add.
You wanted
Yeah,
in
really.
2040 in it, so then Anne Arundel County in 2040 enhances, and then you've got your 2040 piece
Or by.
by 2040.
Yeah.
And if you feel
Is
like
that
that's
important?
necessary.
Is that important?
No,
Because you
okay.
got, you're gonna have a couple.
I would just leave it like that.
You call it
I love
Vision
it.
2040.
Yeah.
It's self-explanatory.
Okay,
I love
Vision
it.
2040.
All right.
Are you
I
all
love
ready
it.
to defend it?
Yep.
Yes,
Consensus?
yes.
What do you-
I move to
I
accept
could
it.
change that to New York City and the Hudson River.
That's
And
okay.
we're not using the word Chesapeake.
That's
That's quite all right.
And that is what will happen, if this is what you pick, I guarantee, in the next 5-10 years, you'll see a half a dozen jurisdictions use a version of it. There's nothing wrong with using something that works and is good, and look, it brought you all together the fastest.
And it's in the public space, so it's not, it's free to use.
General.
And we are trying to create a better place to live, to work, learn, and play.
Amen. All right.
Okay,
I move we
do we,
vote.
Second.
okay, any other comments? Do we all have a yes vote, an agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, do you really want to make it official? Okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. How many no's? That's easier. Okay, thank you. Motion passes. 4. Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes to approve this as the Plan 2040 vision statement. You can send us what you don't like about it.
Let's have a break.
Okay,
Have a drink.
okay, a 5-minute break because we're at 6:30 already. Okay, so what we want to do, okay, yes. The staff will help us with this, but we think we like the themes. We would like to reorder them, not that there isn't an order, but, and we need to add economic advances. So, other than that, are there any other additions to the themes? Speak up.
Add a whole other theme for economic advances?
Or incorporate it into one of them?
I think for simplicity, include into one of them, so we're not trying to go through wordsmithing and trying to find different ideas.
Yeah.
I think it should go into sustainable growth and redevelopment.
Because we talked about strategic economic growth, planned, wait,
Strategic growth, economic growth and redevelopment.
Yes.
say that again, Amy?
Strategic economic growth and redevelopment.
Okay.
Elizabeth, I know if you don't throw something my way, somebody else in here probably will.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, if you don't throw something my way, someone else in here probably will for this comment, but going off of what you were saying before, we ended, if we're doing with that vision statement, we ended the vision statement with a place to live, work, learn, and play.
Right.
Any way we can take all of these things and make them live, work, learn, and play? Or is that going too far? No? Okay, never mind. I tend to agree. I'm just...
Park development, school development.
Exactly.
All that.
And it has that, isn't it?
Yeah. It's there.
Right.
I just didn't know if it was cute to organize it. But.
Okay.
Can I?
Yes, Will.
One thought that popped in my mind was in facilitating a connected and responsive government, we do highlight the inclusive part, and I have noticed a trend across the board, both in public and private sectors, is the which has always been the concept of diversity and inclusion. So I don't know if we want to change that theme to reflect that, so it's more golden instead of kind of hidden within obscurity. Although we do touch on it, I think it's something for us to consider with concern with the current trends.
Well, do you see diversity and inclusion as two separate things?
Yes. Yeah, they are. One's a number game and another is how you make some ideas.
Well, I think
yeah, this whole thing.
diversity and inclusion, if you change that, then you lose the connected and responsive.
Can you elaborate on that?
So if you bring diversity and inclusion, diversified and inclusive government.
Oh, I can see what about instead of connected, add in inclusive?
Inclusive, connected, and responsive government?
Yes.
So I guess I'd like to know exactly what are we talking about in inclusive. Are we talking about people being included in the government process? So, because there are different definitions of what inclusive means.
That's how I
these
use
days.
But it says a more inclusive and responsive government will employ new methods of citizen engagement.
So
It's the first, we're taking out facilitating. We're taking out all the verbs, so it's just connected and responsive government.
But is the intention that the government is more diverse? or that the process of including people in decision-making is more diverse in terms of the people at Region Park.
Yeah, I think it's the intention of the second one.
So that has
I
an
still
impact
don't
on how
quite
you.
understand what that means.
So that everybody who shows up at county council isn't white.
No, I wouldn't go that
I
far, I
don't
wouldn't
know
go
that
that
that's
far.
what we really need. I mean, we're talking about just
Making sure everybody's voice is included.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's,
But it says, engaging and empowering all segments of the county's diverse population will ensure the county evenly delivers resources and services, enforcing zoning and development. So it's saying that the county will evenly deliver resources.
It says it well. It says it very well.
I mean, basically, though,
So-
what we're saying is a more including and responding county government. I'm not sure we should use those words, but that's what we mean, right?
Maybe not use
The
the
county
concept.
government responds better, not that it has more diversity in the government itself.
Correct.
Right. So it's more including and responding.
that's what I
Which
was
is-
trying to get at, that's the main.
That's the idea.
So it's
I
our
mean, maybe-
responsive
Yeah,
people.
people.
Right.
Okay, do you want to say resident?
We were just talking about that. I have less problem here because you're talking about government. Although anybody in the community should be able to be engaged, so maybe it should be universal.
So you could say a more including and responding government, which will employ new methods of citizen engagement.
That feels clunky.
It does,
Yeah.
it is. It does
That's a
sound.
technical term. Clunky.
No, I mean, I'll be willing to step down, I was just highlighting that it's a common theme and it's becoming more and more expectation
Well,
of.
if you want to help rewrite and send it to Cindy,
Cindy.
that
We
would
can
be
do
great.
that then.
And then we can go from
Play
there.
around.
Okay, appreciate that, thank you. Anything else? Okay, they're gonna wordsmith this themselves and work on it, and, sorry. Did I miss something? And one other thing, and I need to address this right now, remember, this is all draft. We did not stamp this in there, but it is all draft. It is not to be shared. Please do not share it with your communities or with anybody else outside of this room. It will come back to you corrected, but we don't want it to go out and to get word that this is what it's gonna be. All of this information is draft, and everything that is in this room stays in this room until it is released on the web.
Are we on YouTube?
Yes. That's fine, they know that.
Accept that.
No, I'm saying that it's all draft, so that we don't want it to go out and be misled as this is being final. Okay, so things will be marked as draft going forward. So, because it all changes, and we need to make sure that they don't think that this is done. So this is draft. Okay? Good. Okay, moving forward.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, Miss Kate?
Sorry,
That's okay. No?
It would be really helpful for me. We've tossed around planning terminology tonight. We've talked about the themes and there's goals and objectives. In my experience, everybody uses those terms differently. Could we, for the next meeting, get clarification of how you are using those terms in the planning process that we are involved in, so that we don't get caught up in our own language?
That's a good point. We talked about a little bit about that. So thank
Well, you know, it's creating what, at least the staff's perspective, is the definition for those terms. Because those are hugely important in setting policy.
Absolutely.
Yes. And there's, you know, historically, there's been a big mix-up between what is a goal, what is an objective. And it's kind of in the eye of the beholder as to separate what those two things are.
And for me, it doesn't matter as long as we're in agreement about how we're using it.
Elizabeth?
Okay. Moving on. Regional planning areas draft. You'll notice it says draft. So let's just go, I'm gonna go in order here in those areas, those people that are from those areas. If you have any comments, speak up now, please. Regional planning area 1. Any comments? 2.
Well, on the map on 2, I can't quite tell the difference between 1 and 2 in terms of where it's for. So it's taking.
100 is the border.
Yeah, but it wasn't a dark line there. I couldn't.
The dark line because the white came
Yeah.
through on that particular one.
All right.
So,
All right.
okay?
Mhm.
3.
I'm gonna 3, 4.
Okay? We'll go from 3 to 4 together.
So there, just because there's a section of Millersville that is really part of the suburban park area in terms of schools and all that kind of stuff. So I'm talking about places like Shipman's Choice, which has a Millersville address. So the Severn River, so you're going out there by Veterans Highway, and then south of Benfield also, where Crane West is and that community in there, that's all really technically part of what we consider to be part of Severn Park, even though it has a Millersville address. So as far as planning purposes, that really should be included in our Severn Park area.
So what would be the line? Crane Highway?
I-97 maybe, and the Severn River.
I would say I-97, the Severn River, where that, like Jabez or whatever that little thing is that comes up, that run. And then also Millersville.
Well, okay, but you have to go across the other way.
I'm sorry.
You're going up this way, but now you need to come back around.
Well, from the Severn River down south to where 178 is, what do you say? Well, this, I'm not describing this well. So West Benfield Road. So you're going out Benfield West, and then that little West Benfield Road, that whole area down here is really part of what we look at as Severn Park.
Okay, so you want to go from West Benfield to 97, or not? Or would you want to
Well, it
go?
would be both sides of West Benfield, but can I just?
You come back to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then-
We need to know how you're going to
the
circle back
north-
around.
The north end of
Okay.
that would be Brightview Drive.
Okay.
Because south of Brightview Drive is different zoning than north of Brightview Drive.
So
Okay,
so include
so-
that in with Glen Burnie?
No,
The
put
north
it in
side
with
of
4.
Belleville? Yes.
Put it in with 4.
No, but what she's saying is that the north side of
Of
Millersville
Brightview would be
will go to
3.
Glen Burnie's area 3.
Okay.
Okay. So there's
Okay.
a chunk of this that we're gonna.
Okay. Then you'll send us the details
Sure.
and we'll adjust the map accordingly. Okay, 5.
Love it. Well, that would be another. So where we,
5.
oh, another one before yet.
Okay, 4.
So 4, I know we talked about all of Pasadena being included in the water, like the watershed area where we're all, like Arnold and Cape St. Clair, and all part of that whole water area. But again, the more western, northern part of Pasadena has high density housing, which we don't have in the Severn Park area right now. So, for example, there's townhouses that are up there, that Coke Home development on Jefferson Hill Road. All of those areas are not in line with what the Severn Park Arnold area is, because we don't have that high density housing like that.
But that's okay,
Yeah.
I think, because, as we'll get into next, there'll be policy areas, and if they have,
So,
if they need different policies, it's, we're gonna have some communities, even within some communities, we have a mixture of land use. So that's okay to have. They don't all have to be.
Pasadena has 2 distinct areas okay,
yeah.
but I think it's all inclusive, but all of that should stay within the Pasadena realm. Because it's no longer, I don't think an issue for somebody in Greenhaven versus somebody in Fairwood. It's all about capacity in the zone itself.
And as you develop the small area plans, regional,
I know.
you'll describe each of those communities.
And there will be different policy objectives, goals and objectives within each of the small area or
Regional plan.
areas.
Yeah.
So it is okay, and I'm going to suggest that the idea that we end up with 9 regional plans from a functional standpoint for the staff allows us to begin working on those geographic areas in, for lack of a better word, almost batches. That we would not necessarily do one at a time. We would do several of them at a time, but they would be contiguous with each other, so there will be more commonality in how these plans work.
Okay, so if you haven't, thank you. So if you haven't gotten it yet, small area plans is out, regional planning areas is in.
That doesn't go for the acronym, it's like hard. That's right. Whatever. We can't call it a SAP anymore.
Nope, you can't. So, okay.
Is 9 a good number?
Right.
Or is 8
Well,
a good?
let me
Okay.
Okay.
You're working.
Five is good, 6,
So question
sorry, 5,
5, and I think you answered my question, but I just kind of want to verify.
Sorry.
We had a good conversation, I think, about 450 and south being Davidsonville or identifying as Davidsonville, even though in some areas there's a good amount of commercial and things of that nature.
Commercial.
So it's okay to
so we
have
policy.
different pods and sections.
Yep, nodes, whatever term we want to use.
Okay.
Billy, 6.
Well, first, can we scroll the map so we can actually see the area that we're talking about?
Sorry, thanks, Don. Thank you, Bill.
Now, the traditional boundary line for Area 6 in virtually every county document is Highway 97 and Maryland 3. In this plan, you've taken 4 square miles from Crownsville and put it with Severn, Millersville, and Glen Burnie. And from the Crownsville side, that boundary should be honored or be consistent with every other planning document that you see the Crownsville area defined as. And then the second one.
So let me just bear with me, because then that also goes back to where Amy's saying to the headwaters of the Severn.
Yeah,
So
Crownsville was the headwaters of the Severn
Okay.
to Highway 97, Maryland
And then
3.
across to 3, and then down.
Yeah, once you
Okay.
go across the Severn Run,
Okay,
now you're over in Severna Park.
okay.
And then the second thing is that in that 4 square miles that's been taken from Crownsville, in that area, where is the Crownsville State Hospital and the Bacon Ridge Natural Preserve, which is of strategic interest to Crownsville?
Agreed.
And so the question is the Crownsville State Hospital now in this Millersville as you projected on this map? That's a question to staff who drew the map.
What was your question?
The state.
What area is the Crownsville State Hospital now located according to this proposed draft?
I'd have to look at the more detailed.
Yeah.
I'd have to, hold on, I got it, hold on.
I don't have a problem. This is what we.
Yeah,
what we did.
we weren't part of that, so can the group that determined this defend it? Or why you chose it, or why it's this way, and are you okay with it changing to the other way? Whoever was in that group last
Well, you
week?
were in that group, right? And who else? was
And we
in there?
drew the line at 97 and the headwaters, and
Okay.
that's the line that we had on the planning map
Okay,
from
so we
that.
just made we made a mistake. Okay, so we're gonna take it up to 97 and come over to the ground, to the headwaters. Okay, anything else?
Perfect then.
Thank you. 7.
I have a question, is Reba in 7? Reba and Edward?
I couldn't figure that out either.
Reba's in seven.
This is the,
Okay.
Yeah, or even if
this is Brownsville, one of the small areas like that. And this is the same map that
Okay.
you provide the planning documents.
Seven.
7.
You go in
Ellen.
this red line up,
Just so you
up to the
understand,
high.
that the community named Annapolis
And I'm pretty
is not
sure
the
the Brownsville State
municipality
Hospital
of
is in
Annapolis.
that zone.
The municipality of Annapolis,
You know, but I
basically where
just
the
to be
number
diplomatic,
7
I'm
is,
questioning it,
that
where it
runs
is now.
far east of Route 2.
So what name is it, can we call
The
that?
reason that
I have a couple of
I
copies
note
here.
that is because within
Those are the old, those are the small areas
There are
around
eight.
boundaries.
Right.
I mean, there's plenty
But
of
they typically are used for everything. You know, like, for
in this
example, when you start talking about
And in the past, that's
growth
never
management
been
areas.
considered what that collaborative relationship should be or is. So, I mean, the
Can we have
county
another
executive's
name?
there.
Can we
but
put it as something else to differentiate
Well, I just
it?
want to call, I want everybody to know that the municipality is not what the green Annapolis is.
Okay.
It's not
Really
Annapolis.
difficult to show Annapolis, the city of
There
Annapolis.
No, it's
are
not
zip codes for
Annapolis. It's not considered Annapolis.
And all the rest of that are included.
Okay, no sidebars, guys, please. Remember, people are trying to listen.
What would you like us to do? Show the city of Annapolis boundaries?
Yeah, if it's within the Annapolis net, why not?
Okay. Sorry, John.
When you include parole and Bestgate and all of that on the north side, that's all the same zip code as technically for Annapolis. So I think that
Well,
the name
maybe
Annapolis
the
is
name,
fine.
same zip code, but it is not governed by the same. There is a
Okay, so we'll
difference.
just say City of Annapolis will be shown, so that they'll know the difference, and we can code it as such. Okay, can do that. That was 7, 8.
Only part of sum of 8 is everything, I would say, north of 5301 and 424. Half of that is Ambrose, and half of it's Davis. So what do you do? Like 424, if you take the right, that's Davisonville. If you take the left of that towards PG, that's all Ambrose.
Okay, but are you okay with it being part of 8? Is the question.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
I was gonna say,
The rest of eight,
what's
then
its
it has
nature? Is
Rockland
it the
and-
same on both sides of 424?
Pretty much up to 450, I would say, yeah.
Yeah. So it would kind of make sense to keep it in.
Okay.
Your talk up?
No, I'm fine.
Let me know.
I think what happened is that that part of Gamble's, and I don't know if it was another group that talked about it, but said it was, actually I think it was a comment made during visioning that people south of 450 felt like they were more part of Davidsonville than they did Gamble.
Right.
So-
So we did divisions, hearings. I actually went to everyone along 424, the south, and heard from community after community that they were represented by the Davidsonville Association of DACA. And when I went to the visioning hearing, I saw them at Southern. I didn't see them at Compton. So I think they very much consider themselves to be Davidsonville people. Southern.
Thank you. 9.
So, you go first, I'll go next.
Done. I'm done.
Okay, Kate.
I like what's here a lot. I'm not 100% sure how Owensville will feel about being in the agricultural versus the West Riverside, although I recommended that they have more in common with the ag side than the Riverside. So I think that's one thing that we could test.
Can you talk to them and find out?
There's no,
There's no.
nothing there.
Okay.
Well, not a lot there.
Okay, here's a
That's why it's
scenario.
more,
once you all are comfortable with everything, and this goes out on the web for comment. And then you'll consider the comments.
Absolutely. I would make one comment, and that's thank staff, because when I looked at the notes from the last meeting, I was really concerned we were gonna end up with 7 regional planning areas. That was gonna create real confusion with the 7 councilmen districts.
Yes.
So by moving to 9, I think we really avoided what could be unnecessary confusion.
So,
Thank you. We appreciate
Can I
that.
understand why Edgewater was split between 8 and 9? Because really that south area, I think should be in the 9 area for Edgewater.
Which
The
piece?
2,
Yeah, if you look at Edgewater and see how it's split to be into 8 on one side versus the other, I think that that entire area of Edgewater, South River Colony, all of that should be included by Mayo and going further south.
The thinking for why we recommended that split
Uh,
was that Edgewater is a developed area, not a rural area. And it has more in common with the folks on both sides of the
Yes.
bridge than it does with people down 468.
Yeah, when you get past Central Avenue though, it becomes a lot more wide open, there's farms down there.
Yeah, well, but there's the South River Colony as well as the golf course there. And once you're past that, I would say yes, and that's where that line cuts off, is right past all that development.
So you're considering that it's more like Harwood versus Mayo?
Once you're past South Colony.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
it opens up.
It opens up there.
It opens up, yeah.
I would imagine that when you post this on the web, we're gonna get
We're gonna get some comments.
We'll back over.
Yeah.
And we like the idea of treating Mayo as and it should say on here Mayo Peninsula, as opposed to Mayo, that's really the community as opposed to the end of the peninsula, that whole area.
can I just make a comment about this island? I don't even know why we're included in this at all. Well, they have their own zip code, their own post office, I mean, they're an entity unto their own.
But they're part of the incorporated area of the county, which is what we're supposed to include.
They are a corporation.
If you took them out, they would be very upset that they were.
Okay, any other comments, please? Oh, one more, Patricia.
Quick question, where is Reba?
7.
Reba's in 7.
Reba's in 7. Any other comments? Okay, we need approval of the meeting minutes as amended. I know you all have studied them and you know exactly what was said.
I did read them.
And there was a suggestion, and so we need to slightly amend.
What's the amendment?
We didn't represent Charlie's comments, right? It was on visiting and he wasn't suggesting.
See if I can.
Yeah.
I can read it real quick.
Okay.
So, it had originally said Mr. Mania thought the vision themes repeat many of the same items, so on and so forth. Change it to Mr. Mania thought the vision statement could be shortened by removing details that were also included in the vision themes section.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve them as amended?
I have another amendment.
Oh, sorry.
On page 2 in the conversation that you and I had about the vision statement being completed within 20 years, it says, Ms. Rosberg clarified that the vision statement is just a target and that not all items must be accomplished within the 20-year time frame. The conversation was about getting them started, but not necessarily being finished. And this could be meant that we could put it in with no intention of ever addressing that. So I would make that.
So within the 20-year,
Within the time frame of the vision.
Okay, so say it again one more time so Mark can correct them.
That not all items must be accomplished within the vision time frame, although they must be started. That was the intention of the conversation.
I actually really like that one, because that's some of my heartburn over the last GP small area plan. There was
Well,
really.
the smaller plans did not have implementation implementation.
Right.
Yes. There were no timelines. Right.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay, so let's keep on, sorry, sir, but let's keep going on the minutes as amended. We have 2 amendments, a vote to approve them as amended. All in favor? Any noes, any declines, any abstentions? Motion passes. Our new planning and zoning director. You were gonna say something.
the only thing I'm gonna say is, and Cindy touched on it, but over time, we've learned the staff that when you work on a plan, you have to have a very robust implementation schedule. It has to be a real thing, almost in the sense of a report card that we're handing the citizens to grade us. And so part of that is whatever recommendations we're making to be done, there has to be an identification of who's going to do it, what time period it's going to be done, whether or not it's a capital item or an operating budget item, so that, and we track that aggressively, vigorously, which in the past, Anne Arundel's no different than anybody else, we kind of walked away from that stuff. That's important. If we want to have, I'm going to say, recommendations that are odd, don't fit an implementation schedule, I label those as aspirational. These are things we'd like to consider doing, but we don't know how to put a time limit. We don't know who would do it, but it's something we'd like to work on if it's possible to do that. But we don't attach that in the same way to the implementation schedule. Because we don't want to work on a plan, have it adopted, and then it not get implemented. That reflects poorly on all of us who participated.
And that goes along with, which we didn't get to tonight, but the other part of the bill that we need to address, other than how many areas and where they're geographically located, was the content of the plan and the committee makeup, which I sent you a draft to start thinking about, and in that, the content shows an implementation plan and measurement.
So your homework is to review that, send comments, and be ready to prepare to discuss this at the next meeting, which
Are you
is,
sending out another vision of another version of the vision that we're all supposed to work on?
yes,
Yeah, we'll send out a clean. But don't-
we adopted it.
We're not
working on it. It's passed.
Will was going to work on the
Theme.
theme.
But it would be helpful to have a copy of what we
Yes.
have.
Yes.
A copy of it.
Okay, a couple things. And more housekeeping, and Cindy will allude to it. But remember, we are not the only committee that the staff is supporting. So please, if you need to send stuff to the staff, please do so in a timely manner, not the day of the meeting. We appreciate that, but you all really need to look at your agendas, look at what she's sending out, and read it so that we can keep these meetings moving and on time. And attendance tonight. Attendance is key. We've had several people who have missed quite a few, but we're really getting into the nuts and bolts of things now. So please, please try and make it. If you cannot attend, please let us know that you cannot attend so that we are prepared. And if you feel like this is too much, especially if you talk to other people who have not been here tonight, please encourage them to come. And otherwise, we're going to have to really think seriously about this, because we've had some people who have missed quite a bit. We have not come up with an attendance policy, but we may have to. And it may be too late for some. We also need consensus. So please make sure you do your homework and everything else, because this is key. We're really getting into it now. And so we need to keep moving forward, and we need to make sure that we come together as a team and that we respect each other's opinions. Obviously we do, and we represent our residents very well. So I appreciate you all for coming tonight, especially in the rainstorm, and it's beautiful and a nice little rainbow when we go out. Hold your thoughts. Cindy has more.
Yeah. So other than the planning process for the new regional plan, we're going to send you the survey results. We're summarizing those in a way that is useful for you, by communities and so forth. It's just taking a little bit longer than I'd hoped. We had to download some Excel spreadsheets and start correlating, not just sorting, but correlating, so that it wasn't just a number, it meant something by the communities that it was talking about. So we'll get that to you, and in that, part of that was talking about the policy areas, and then Amy, that's what I was getting at, is that right now our current GDP has 3 policy areas. And over the years, and also what we heard in the visioning meetings, that's not enough policy areas to start thinking about formulating goals and strategies.
So the 3 that are existing
Are targeted, which are town centers and mixed use areas, commercial revitalization areas, and then the rural areas, and then everything else was called managed. So we proposed a few based on some feedback that we heard in the visioning meetings, and then the results of that are in the surveys, and then we'll start discussing those and sort of drafting a map of the county that has policy areas. That'll be next coming up.
Important stuff. Important stuff. Thank you all. Really, this is important, and we're really getting into it now. So I appreciate everybody coming tonight and being participative and speaking up and being part of the process, because that's why we're here, is to be part of the process and make it the best place to work, live, learn, and play. Thank you. Oh, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.